And we're back, everybody, from a very not quick break. I'm sorry. There was a map 3 banger happening that we were not covering. But if you are tuned into Energy Stream, POV Stream, you will know that Flyquest takes it 2-1 over Busy at Work, solidifying their spot in this best of 5 grand finals. I'm joined once again by the amazing Soren, and today we're going to be finishing off this absolutely insanely stacked playoffs and bringing a beautiful end to this circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really don't think you could have asked for a much better and a much more dramatic final for this tournament. Obviously, FlyQuest are FlyQuest. They're one of the biggest orgs in esports in general, but also really dominant. I mean, this is a team that beat 100 Thieves and Sentinels, only got knocked out of Ignite by Envy. Those three teams all going to the big LAN in China. And then you have Cafe Noir, a little bit of a smaller team, but they're the MRC America's champions. They are pretty much the kings of tier 2. And normally we look at that and go, well, okay, well, obviously FlyQuest are going to be the favorites here, but they lost the map to Dark Zero. And they lost the map to Busy at Work. And they went 0-2 in week number 2. Apparently, also, I just took a look at the Wikipedia, lost their coach, and they also lost Light. So there's a lot of chinks in the armor here for FlyQuest. This is a very real game. Even though FlyQuest have a bit more prestige, Cafe Noir are, especially after that last game where they played extremely well in both the games that they played, this easily could go all 5, and I think every single one of them are going to be close affairs. I think this is going to be the best game, the best series we've had yet for either of the Tenax Rebirth series circuits.
I have to agree here. It's Cafe Noir, like you said, a little bit of a smaller team, but they've been making some big leagues, some big changes themselves in the past couple of weeks. A lot of improvements to their overall gameplay. But like we said, we're gonna have FlyQuest coming in here. We also have Yggdrasil's Path being the map of choice, and FlyQuest has. I'm sorry. Looks like actually Cafe Noir. Oh, we're swapped actually. FlyQuest will actually be on the defense phase, while Cafe Noir is on the attack. Yes. So it looks like we're gonna have a quick little swap. FlyQuest did ask to defend first, and you can already see kind of what we're looking towards. I'm looking at Vest for that Magneto. Those meter M's are always so consistent. So if you're looking Dagger, just stay safe. Stay safe out there. Pray to everything you know, and hope that you don't get destroyed out of your ult, regardless if you have cloak or not. I don't care. You might die.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does actually put FlyQuest in a little bit, it puts Cafe Noir into a little bit of a sticky spot because they obviously banned away that Lunar Snow. Well, then they leave the Cloak and Dagger open. It's the best alternative. Invisible Woman is still good, but Cloak and Dagger has been growing in priority a lot recently. But now with that Magneto, it's one of those things of like, do you really want to run the cloak and risk that? So that kind of forces you, if you are going to try to run that 2-man back line, it's going to be Loki plus whatever healer is left, which is Invisible Woman, which really narrows down the scope of how many compositions you can run. So it is actually, I think, a really good pickup. I think it's a good save. It's just going to be a little bit interesting as we close out the rest of the pick bands. Just to kind of round them up, it does look like we see the Captain America and the Wolverine band, followed by Protect for 2 Flyers, Ultron and Human Torch. And we do see the Cloak and Dagger Protect. So they're seeing Vest on that Magneto, or probably at least assuming it, and going, nope, we're going to run it anyway.
We sure are. And the last band coming in from Cafe Noir will, in fact, be this Emma Frost. Now, a little bit later than I'm comfortable with. I kind of want her band first most times than not. However, it makes sense. Again, she's just way too strong. Even after, I wouldn't even call them nerves. I call them slaps on the wrist. My girl is just chilling after patch after patch after patch. And of course, also going to be seeing a ban on the Winter Soldier as well to finalize the ban phase for FlyQuest. And you can kind of see sort of here a couple of the compositions that we are looking towards. I mean, you're seeing Vest, Zelos, Cooper-tastic. I mean, this is the kind of the comp that FlyQuest likes to play. Magneto, Loki, definitely. Maybe a Cloak and Dagger or a Sue, whichever one of Zelos is maybe feeling like. But as we go over to Cafe Noir, I'm liking 762 Storm. We saw for a little bit on our previous series before, I believe, inevitably they kind of swapped over to Wolverine or to Ultron. But as we finally lock into Yggdrasil's Path, what can you say about these compositions?
FlyQuest are sticking with what we saw earlier and what we've seen throughout the entire day on Yggdrasil's Path. Obviously, this is the third time we've been here, the first map for all 3 games that were streamed so far. This 3-3 setup is really good for this first hold because it's going to be a more extended fight. You want to waste as much time as physically possible, and you can make up for the damage that is lost by not having a duelist between that Loki and the Ultron. That being said, it's still not amazing. So I truly believe that this is more of a stalling composition than ever a composition that is going to be intended to win out this first point. The goal is to waste as much time as possible, make it so the attacking team has mere seconds left before they make it to the point, and then swap over to more deadly characters. So when they're in more open areas, they can get the kills they need. And it does look like it's going to be a very high line for Flyquest because obviously they have the healing behind them to keep such high pressure on this card.
I agree, and just like this, like you said, it's a very stalling composition, and we've stalled 30 seconds, but finally, Cafe Noir breaks open with a pick onto the backline, that being fantastic, and this is helped out a little bit by the fact that we used the Rage of Ultron, others used it a little bit too late, and can't really get the healing output, but, mind you, despite losing out on 2 very imperative members of Flyquest, they're still able to continue this defense with at least 2 Vanguards still on the field here and alongside Zelos on this strategist role, which of course is going to result in the Eternal Bond being used first. Now here comes Vest with a beautiful, again, Meteor M. I'm not just talking into thin air when I say this. Vest hits those, and that's going to be shutting down this what looked to be a big opening for Cafe Noir, has now retreated back into the spawn room like a turtle in its shell.
Yeah, we actually see a bit of a strategy from the TP there, blocking one means of exit, funneling everyone into one spot, and it is just going to be a death circle for Cafe Noir as Flyquest just dump everything into them as they're all clustered in like rats in a cage, and it's going to force a full reset. It was a lot of investment, though. No ultimates in the pockets of Flyquest. Meanwhile, Cafe Noir, while it is wasting a lot of time, are going to be coming back with the advantage, as we see here, Storm.
Yeah, the Mega Storm will be used here. Does bait out the runes and the Rage of Ultron from Adios, but finally, Cafe Noir bringing these guys back to that first original corner that a lot of teams typically will start the defense on. You can see Adios coming in, trying to get that last minute stall, especially as we have now ticked down underneath 2 minutes of the initial 4-minute time bank that Cafe Noir were given. And finally, again, they're gonna get this opening built up for them, and they're gonna push down this main entryway, and we're seeing some swaps coming from Flyquest already.
Yeah, absolutely. As they round this first corner, I am not surprised to see the swaps come through. Spark Chief going onto that Venom that we saw used a great effect, especially on the defensive side for Flyquest. One of the reasons they did so well, even if it was eventually stalled out. But now they're in the kill potential range. They're no longer just trying to stall. This is where they try to win. It's a much better location for them to fight in, so they're doing what they can to win it out here.
All right, the second Meteor M coming in from Vest does not find its marker, but this Eternal Bond should, on paper, be enough for Flyquest to stay alive in this defense. But we have the last judgment, the final judgment coming in at you against from the side of Cafe Noir. That's going to be opening up this tick to not only be captured here by that Cafe Noir, but they're going to reinstate a 3-minute time bank to push through second objective. And with a good, at least the Eternal Bond online, you got to deal with Spark Chiefs as well. But otherwise, I think Cafe Noir can finally have a little bit of breath, a fresher breath air here.
Yeah, absolutely. As they are pushing to get around this first corner of point 2, this is notably usually a bit of a good corner for the attacking side. Once you get to the second is where the defenders really have range to go. That being said, it is a little bit like fish in a barrel there, as Cafe Noir have not pushed out pretty heavily. They do lose one on the initial fight, but the fight is extending well past its normal range.
As does every Rivals fight, right? We have both Eternal Bonds online here. Spark Chief also coming in with the Venom Ultimate. Finds one. That's actually massive for Flyquest to retake this defensive position. As they have, yeah, they've expended a good amount of ultimates. That being, they've got a Mischief. They used the Rage of Ultron a little bit earlier. They used Spark Chief's ult. But now Cafe Noir, I'm scared here. They have 2 check marks. What can we see with this Mega Storm coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. The reset is forced through here. Again, that Storm Ultimate is in the back pocket. Meanwhile, Vest does have one of their own. Meteor M going to possibly be used to stop any Cloak and Dagger shenanigans, but not a lot of time until this push comes through. There we go. The Storm Ultimate to clear out the backline is going to find one that should finally crack open this corner for Cafe Noir. The Flyquest are still pushing in.
Yeah, you say that, but then here comes Eternal Bond coming in from Cafe Noir to negate maybe a little bit of Zealous' own Eternal Bond on the defense side. But once again, Meteor M so strong. 9 appeal given to our strategist backline for Cafe Noir to defend against the absolute onslaught that is Vest. Flyquest, despite losing out on Cooper Tastic really early, it almost feels like it didn't even matter. And just like that, boom, 2 minutes are down from the clock here. Will it be enough for Cafe Noir to break through with the Final Judgment and with Eternal Bond?
Absolutely. Cafe Noir putting so many people forward in the last fight, and that's a huge kill for Cafe Noir. A lot of damage being lost from Flyquest, and they are going to pop that Final Judgment. Flyquest are finally going to have to back away from that hold that they've been holding for the last minute and a half, if not longer. And now Cafe Noir finally making ground with this cart approaching the second corner. This is traditionally where the defense is known to hold. So the fact that Flyquest did better on that first half, we're going to have to wait and see. This might be very difficult for Cafe Noir, especially now they are losing that spawn advantage that they had in the previous corner.
Yeah, but they also lose out on their Loki. Omega Hurricane does get used here in response to the Supernova from Energy. Great. Everything's on the floor here. Unfortunately, Zelo's back in the spawn room, not quite in the fight. And there's a 1v1 happening in the backline, so both Cloak and Daggers are no longer in the engagement, but neither is Energy. This aerial space is getting continuously back and forth between Energy and of course, the Human Torch. But otherwise, big Agamotto comes in from Iffy. Is it going to be enough? As we now have ticked down over time, the Meteor M is forced to kind of go wide because those runes will keep everyone alive. But 762, which is unaware of the fact that his Vest was right there to get that pickup. Cafe Noir now on the back foot here, forced to use this duplicated Eternal Bond and maybe get something started, but it just does not matter, especially when Flyquest comes back with their own Eternal Bond, and that is going to be the first part of the defense going by the way of Flyquest.
Yeah, and notably, that is a significant increase in quality in a hold than we saw them versus Dark Zero. They really struggled on that defensive half, finally putting together a hold at the very last second before point number 2. But man, it really did look kind of rough in that first game, that first series. But here, that was a lot cleaner. They were able to play a lot more aggressively, push forward. They knew the moment there was a dive in the back line from the Storm and from the Cloak ult, they immediately pushed their front line, knowing that they were missing a lot of damage, knowing they were missing a lot of healing. So they just pushed that aggressively. The back line dealt with the people who dove in the back, and the front line just pushed Cafe Noir so far back that they couldn't support the 2 people that dove. They would die, and they would be forced into a reset. And we saw that happen again and again and again, and Cafe Noir just did not have a means of dealing with that. But that being said, now everything's swapped over. We do see Flyquest take on a little bit more of a standard composition here. We obviously look like I have that 2-2-2. Notably here, they are rocking the Raccoon, which, I mean, Rocket. Okay, that is going to be it. I was going to say, it's probably just for the shields. I'd imagine a Loki and a Rocket is just not going to be a good combo. That's not a lot of healing, but the Loki Cloak and Dagger absolutely is a better choice. Meanwhile, Cafe Noir is going to pick up that 3-3 lineup, that 3 Vanguard, 3 support. They're going to try to replicate what everyone has been doing today. And they're not going to do a great job at it. Immediately, 3 people fall. The stalling comp is not working, as immediately they have to back out.
And I was going to say, oh no, it's got man. Wait, we're telescope. Hold on, we're watching them for a little bit, saying, okay, where are we gonna go?
Okay, they were gonna try to put the portal in front of the Strange to stop their portal, but they ended up not doing it. So the cart has just been moving, a full reset for Cafe Noir. They still have that portal in their back pocket, but now we're already approaching point 1 with Flyquest. Time is not ticked by very quickly. They still have more than 3 minutes on the clock.
Oh wow! And look at the rotation they opt to make. They actually don't go around the right side. They actually make a full rotation past the point towards the left side mini pack,
Oh,
and then suddenly everyone is just going down for the count. And I was gonna say when they're running that triple Vanguard triple strategist composition, it's like, okay, FlyQuest, can you handle your own medicine? Oh, they absolutely can, and they're gonna continue this onslaught as we move into second with a insane 5 minute time bank, almost uncontested even.
yeah, and with that, we do finally see the alteration come through because obviously the stalling was just not working and was a horrible tragedy. So they do swap over to the 2v222 with the Punisher and the Storm, but the Moon Knight is just so valuable here because of how tight the alleyways are. One ultimate finds three, and it's all crumbling around them. Cafe Noir just cannot stop this push.
They can. They have 3.5 meters. And I'm sorry, even less than 1 meter, less than 2 meters left to go for FlyQuest to take this first map. And we're going over to this. Oh, actually, going to be using the Eye of Akamoto here. Reversal. Eternal Bond is on the field here for FlyQuest to expend and stay inside of, get that healing over time. Amped up. Omega Hurricane does get procced here in the back line. Looks over at the entire front line, and we find two. That's great. But everyone around 762 is starting to crumble. Not before getting out is one, but it almost doesn't matter as FlyQuest bring it back with just a minute under that initial 5 minute time bank. And they take the first map in a very stunningly overwhelming fashion.
That did not seem like the FlyQuest that was struggling to get through the last two series. That was a FlyQuest that realized they are in the finals and they need to win. A huge pickup from them. FlyQuest doing exactly what they need to do. The composition just worked. They immediately brought out the Moon Knight, which I was going to question originally, but I was like, you know what? No, a lot of tight areas, big AoE ult. It will do a lot of work if they can find the value from it. And it ends up they don't even really need it for the whole of point one, and it comes in massive to get them practically to the final line in point number two. So, I mean, it just seems like everything they did, everything they brought out just kind of clicked all at once. And Cafe Noir, it's like you're playing Mario Kart, but you start your engine a little bit too soon, and immediately like you kind of like jiggle and shake, and you don't get that boost at the start of the route, right? They just couldn't get the footing. They started out slow, and they were starting in last before the round even started.
Yeah, I think you put a really good analogy there. They were kind of like in Mario Kart, where you think you're gonna get the leg up, you think you're gonna do something by using that triple strategist, triple vanguard composition, and give FlyQuest a little bit of a taste of their own medicine. But FlyQuest has danced this dance, has sung this song multiple times. There's a reason why we saw it so many times. Ignite have that success running the same thing into Sentinels, into 100 Thieves, and really putting it. I would almost say they almost pioneered that stall composition on Yggdrasil. They were one of the first ones to do
Oh
it,
yeah.
one of the first ones to really put a wrench in the plans of those of 100 Thieves, of Sentinels, who were like, yo, why can't we push through this triple Vanguard composition? Why can't we kill an Ultron in the air? It just works. And if you don't know how to do it, it's really risky to replicate it, especially against a team that, like I said, almost pioneered it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that being said, we are going to be going over to game number two. It is going to be domination. It's a best of five. So obviously it's going to be convoy, domination. And if we go all the way to five, we'll get a convergence. So we are going to be going to domination next, which, uh, I mean, in series number one, the one we watched, FlyQuest, that was their bread and butter. That was the map they won pretty convincingly and almost should have won even more if Vest didn't get left behind on that first portal. So if you're Cafe Noir, if you're a fan of them, it's probably a little scary because that was supposed to be the round. That was also their map pick. That was Cafe Noir's map pick for Game of What. So definitely not a wonderful start. Definitely going to be sweating a little bit, but take a moment, get the reset. We are waiting on map selection to come through, but I mean, definitely need to see a lot of changes coming out from Cafe Noir if they want to take map number two.
And speaking about map number two being domination, I believe all the maps we had on stream so far have really preferred Krakoa to be that
Yeah.
domination selection. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see it again. Me when I lie, actually looks like we're gonna be seeing Hell's Heaven instead. First time we're seeing it today, and I don't really mind it only because I think Hell's Heaven is really interesting in the fact that it changes a lot while you're playing on it. It's yeah, every map has destructibles. Every map can like kind of change a little bit. For example, the cradle on
Oh
Krakoa
yeah.
with all the trees eventually falling down. But Hell's Heaven quite literally just shifts vertically. It makes the entire map have blocked off areas. I think this is a really cool map to go towards, especially if you're trying to kind of disrupt naturally given the map's properties, right? So as we go into this, I believe with the also with bans, things like we've been seeing Luna get consistently banned out.
Oh yeah.
Will there be maybe a push to ban Magneto instead from just how well Vest plays a character? And mind you, of course, Vest plays many things very well, but I think the star of their kit is Magneto. Will there be some sort of response to that tank player?
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely think you have to deal with it eventually. Or maybe it becomes a protect for Luna Snow because a lot of the value that he gets is he's been punishing that cloak and dagger, which very clearly, I mean, Cafe Noir want to play. They protected it even though they knew they were going to be running into Vestas at Magneto, and it just did not work out for them. So I would not even be surprised if we see the Magneto stay, but the Luna ban not go through. That way, there's more options. If the Cloak and Dagger doesn't work, they're not stuck on a Visible Woman, who is still a very good character and is still probably like A tier, one of the best, one of those big three like actual straight healers in the game. But is definitely the weaker of the three options. I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit more presence of more dive champions. This is a map where dive really does thrive. Also, this is a classic Namor Hulk map, a very defensive pairing. The turrets from Namor powered up by those that Hulk team up is just super strong. It's not great for the push on, but the moment you can get the site, it's super strong. Pair that with like an Emma and a Magneto front line with a Psylocke in the background, just being an agitator, roaming around, doing what they can to deal with the backline. It's a very scary composition, one we see a lot on these domination maps, especially Hell's Heaven. So I would not be surprised if we either see some of them get heavily protected or heavily focused on the ban. I could imagine a Hulk ban first off the block.
Yeah, and Spark Chief is he's the diver. They call him the diver. He loves
Oh
playing
yeah.
Hulk. He loves has played Venom multiple times. In stream, also off stream, I believe was playing it against Get to Work, or sorry, Busy at Work. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a Hulk ban or even Namor ban, either one. As you said, when they're set up, such a strong composition alongside the Gamma team up, which take it out. That's my personal vendetta coming out. I'm sorry, no bias, but that could absolutely be an option there. Also, Phoenix. Phoenix hasn't really been seen so far in that first map, and I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe see her come back, maybe as a
Oh, yeah.
response. May put a lot of pressure because of her passive with the three embers and you kind of explode. So a lot of different things can be absolutely happen here alongside whatever possible bans. As we are now, we officially have our players in their lobbies ready to go into Hell's Heaven. Let's get into this ban phase and start really getting into what we're gonna be seeing from these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really do think we are going to see a bit of a focus on these vanguards. Obviously, Vest has been the talking point, Spark Chief has been the talking point. The vanguards for Cafe Noir have also been really good. Honestly, I think we're at the point where we're going to just start seeing teams, both teams, frankly, start choking out the pool. Obviously, it's really hard to hard target ban a duelist. There's like 20 something of them, and most people have at least two or three they can fall back on. But that vanguard pool and that strategist pool are so much easier to deal with. We do see the Ultron ban is pretty good on this map, not particularly known for it. It is matched by the BP ban, which while Psylocke I think is still pound for pound better, after everyone else in the pool pretty much getting pretty heavily nerfed, at least in the dive pool, BP has risen to the top as a hero that can do a lot of damage. He can pretty much two-tap any of the backline support, and this map gives him a lot of means to get in and out very quickly. So we do see that get banned away, just not wanting to deal with it. The Luna Protect, exactly what I said. I was expecting it from Cafe Noir, but Flyquest said, no, we want to keep the Luna regardless. So that will also help Cafe Noir out a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say we mentioned the BP, can two tap a strategist in the back line. It might be me. I might be the strategist you're talking about in my games, but that's just trauma at that point. But like you're right. We do see the Luna Protect alongside a response of a Hulk Protect actually coming from Cafe Noir. So I would almost say, correct me if I'm wrong, these are picks that we kind of expected from either side, not quite from
Yeah.
who picked them. Just so interesting to talk about. Emma, yeah, girl, get out. We don't want you in any of these games. And as we now tick down on the timer for Flyquest's next ban, it's gonna be on Namor. So
Okay.
that's exactly what we were talking about. Might see the Hulk Namor protection, or sorry, Hulk Namor team up. Flyquest said, "No, we don't really want to play with the Gamma team up here."
Oh, I could see it. I see the vision. Oh no. Depending on how these bands go, I'm like, okay, so Namor's gone, BP is gone, there's no Emma. The Ultron means there's probably not going to be many flyers. What's going to be left? There is always the
Oh yeah.
Wolverine, the Wolverine and Phoenix combo. That could be very scary. We do see the Human Torch protect, so some flyers. I don't think flyers are great on this map, but always nice to have in the back pocket. There are some good choke points where you can get some value. That Psylocke ban, like I said, BP and Psylocke are the kind of two go-to dives with that Hulk, so get that banned away. They don't want to deal with it. No Emma and Psylocke team up at all. But Flyquest, this is the final one. Okay, they are going to ban the Wolf.
Ooh.
I was going to say a combo of that Wolf and Phoenix would be horrifying to deal with, especially with how many environmental factors there are on this map. There's a lot of places you can get knocked off. It is a playground for Wolverines flying around the map, kidnapping people, and sending them to their doom before they know what they could do or have any means to deal with it. So that is going to be banned away. They'll keep the Phoenix, don't want the Wolf.
Yeah, I like it a lot actually, and I'm really happy that they have chosen characters that we were talking about. It makes me feel a little better as per someone playing this game and commentating it. That they're going for options that we were talking about. That being the Phoenix Protect, and you can really see energy hovering over the character. Tones on the Hulk, of course, as it was protected, and having fantastic value with the Hulk when we saw them earlier. I believe in that second series we had, right? So really solid stuff. Now, we're getting a little active in the spawn room. Zealous on Rocket to give that extra 50 armor for everybody, but otherwise, I'm ready. I love what we're seeing here. We see Luna, at least on one side. Zealous might themselves go over to Luna as well to kind of mirror that out. And again, I think Luna is arguably top one, top two support right now, and Loki, despite all of those nerfs that he's been getting, still strong to hold his own and be almost a must pick. But I like that Noir has Invisible and Luna right now.
Yeah, I mean, that is a lot of healing potential, two really big ultimates. Loki does typically do a little bit more damage and relies on taking those ultimates from their teammates or from the enemies, but it can be a little risky, especially in a very close quarters fighting area like this, where it can get very hectic and very difficult to keep track of who is where, and just the possibility of a misclick is so much higher. So to rely onto two more standard healers and not have that bit more flexibility with Loki, I don't think it's a bad thing. I definitely think Loki is still better, but situationally, I can see why the call has been made. That damage from Jean Grey, though, Phoenix, just really showcasing why she can get so much value on this map. Big AoE damage that spreads out between the enemies that are close up in a tight area. On a map like this, you can just absolutely melt all of your opponents.
Oh my goodness. And speaking of melting, there's a lot of fire in play here from either side. But Fate of Both Worlds will be used first by Flyquest, giving them a leg, not Fate of Both Worlds, but Cooper Tastics using the Mischief, getting the duplicate here. And that's going to be the big opener for Flyquest. And they actually forced out the invisible boundary from Konoya, which I think is really big. They kind of are expecting we're now going to be expecting a Fate of Both Worlds exchange from Cafe Noir and Flyquest, but they're pushing up, and I like this really forward position coming in from Flyquest as they set up for his next engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of a high line trying to stop them. Also drawing a lot of attention while the Hulk goes in on the flank. Do think he had to pull back, but now in a little bit of a tricky spot. A lot of damage being done to Cafe Noir. So the positioning for FlyQuest is still in their favor. A little bit of high ground as well as Adios is still sitting in that back line, just cutting off the lines of entry with those flame walls. But finally, we do see Cafe Noir make a little bit of ground here, have pushed on the site, but have not taken it quite yet.
Oh, but what the pressure coming in with that meter and from Vez. Energy did not energy, excuse me. Snows was able to kind of get out of the line of sight for a little bit, gets a little bit of that, gets a lot of damage put onto them, but then Vez just gets the elimination anyway, shutting down the use of a Kraken impact, which would have been absolutely massive in this fight. Now here comes the Phoenix ultimate. Doesn't really find too much, but the pressure is still on as, of course, now I think everyone's kind of marked with the fire here. FlyQuest seems to be a little bit weird because now Snows is back. Did use Kraken Impact, did not get any sort of elimination to follow up on it, which means that at this point, this has become an ult exchange, an ult dump here for Cafe Noir, and by default, you're gonna kind of win out this fight, but not without kind of losing out on that ult economy.
Yeah, really, very much so. Cooper Tastic, though, being the first one to pop their ult a little while ago, is going to be the first one up with their ult. Spark Chief also has it in their back pocket. So FlyQuest are going to be the ones to start with it. It's just a matter of if they're going to use it early so they can keep that advantage, as no one from Cafe Noir is even hitting that 50% mark, but they don't even need it. Energy on the Phoenix is just running them down.
Oh, they're getting pushed all the way back here. And they had a little bit of solace with 37% given to Cafe Noir when they flipped that previous in that previous fight. But unfortunately, FlyQuest is at 80-something%, 82%, and they are just going to be pushing into this spawn room with the Fabled Worlds active and online. Now, it does deplete. We get a big freeze. However, I mean, look at the aggression from Tones. Actually gets exiled and shut down the momentum shift. That would have been really good for Cafe Noir. Thankfully, they pushed FlyQuest all the way back, but during that push, we suddenly lose out on Konoya. That's big, forcing out the Phoenix Ultimate to also be expended here, and that is a big pincer that you're really dealing with as Cafe Noir. You lose out on energy, great. Who cares? It's overtime, it's 99%, and no one else can touch, and FlyQuest are going to take this first objective under their belt and go over to a round 2 with a leg up in the map.
Yeah, absolutely. FlyQuest taking map 1. It was not perfect. I definitely think there is room for Cafe Noir to take a map here and possibly send this to a round 3. It is pretty even still. Right now, Cafe Noir has one less ultimate, but pound for pound, I think they're generally a little bit closer to all of them having their ults as opposed to FlyQuest, seeing as it looks like Energy just used theirs, only sitting at 4%. So well, right now at the like off the rip, FlyQuest are going to have the advantage. Cafe Noir will soon either catch up or take the advantage within probably the first 30 seconds to a minute of fighting for the point. And here, this point is a little bit trickier. It's not quite as flat as the other one, so high ground and elevation are going to be something to fight for. Adios is also going to have a lot more fun playing in around these pillars. Will give him a lot more protection than he had on point last time around. That's going to be something Cafe Noir need to deal with. And they also need to not get exiled by Spark Chief, who immediately knocks 762 out of the sky.
Yeah, but not for very long, as we do see a dive come in. Big Gamma Shield, but even better is going to be the revertation. Whoa, wait, hold on. We saved the day with the with our ultimate here. So actually stayed alive long enough. I think the runes were just kind of out for Cooper Tastic and Kev Spark alive long enough in order to make sure that we don't revert back to Bruce Banner. Now, unfortunately, big ups for Cafe Noir as they do take out Cooper Tastic really early in this engagement. We go for The most vertical meter M I've ever seen in my life from Vest does not find the target in the air of 762. And Cafe Noir, just based off of that, are whoa! Whoa! They're gonna take this first point with fervor. What did I just watch?
I I would never say I am an expert at the video game. I am not a pro. I am not an analyst, but I will say I don't think you're supposed to do that. I don't think you're supposed to send yourself flying off the map. That is going to force a bit of a reset for obvious reasons. Flyquest. Having to take a round. Spark Chief is doing a lot, being sent on the flank very consistently, while the rest of the 5 stack is just trying to push into the sky. It is making Cafe Noir constantly have to look to their sides. They can't just look ahead and mindlessly shoot. It's giving a lot of opportunities for Flyquest to go and retake the point. But that being said, just like last time, Cafe Noir are the first people to put points on the board, and they're approaching that 50% mark, already doing a little bit better than they did last time. But just like that, Spark Chief just running at them as they all collapse in. Cafe Noir finally pushed off point.
Yeah, and I was gonna say Tones' exile there would have almost been picture perfect timing. It was quite literally, I think, a millisecond too late, which resulted in the back line of Cafe Noir going down to Spark Chief. They are gonna be coming in with a 50% lead here, as Flyquest has now just flipped the point for themselves, which I think is a really something we have to talk about real quick. It's possible for Cafe Noir to bring it back, but not if you lose out on your Luna Snow, and then you kind of lose the engagement here. The Magneto 1v1 does go by the wayside of Vest, who's built up this Meteor M. Zelo's also keeping the Fable of the Worlds in the back pocket, and again, Cooper Tastic is building up these ultimates like they have like 1000 energy. You wouldn't think this ultimate has 4500 energy or whatever to get it online, and once again, these fights are just going over and over, melding into one another. Well, Supernova are going to be committed here for a good reason. Meter M to help negate the projectiles, but still finds nothing but some clones.
Yeah, a lot of ults being popped to Supernova as the Human Torch did spot a big clump of Cafe Noir, but unfortunately a dive in from their Vanguard means they have to turn it back towards their own back line. They can't get the value that they want. Flyquest having to reassess, but they do still have control of the point here, but the push out with the Luna Snow ult.
Here comes the Phoenix. Oh, and not going to quite get the eliminations needed for Cafe Noir to open this up again, but Reversal Phoenix does come in. Mind you, this fight is happening super up front, and in the objective itself, someone's contesting from Cafe Noir. It's gonna be Tones doing their best with the Monster Hulk to stay alive long enough, but you get frozen, you get stunned, and you can't walk, and you get exploded. Oh, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Tones is back in that Bruce Banner form, but Spark Chief gonna be the one also to go down. Vest, thankfully, despite only having the scientist next to him, can absolutely wreak havoc in the rest of the team in that front line, pretty much by themselves. The objective still goes on the wayside of Flyquest as they keep it up to this overtime fight. And guys, it's gonna result in Flyquest take. Yo, wait, we didn't touch. We didn't touch. Flyquest takes it 2-0 here.
Yeah, that's. I mean, to be fair, Flyquest, this was very clearly a pretty, it was going to be a hard-fought win for Cafe Noir if they won. Flyquest looks so strong on this domination. Even if it wasn't this exact map, they look so strong against Dark Zero. They looked almost flawless. And while they still were not flawless this time around, they were still pretty dominant. I mean, look at the damage. Both Adios and Energy dropping over 20,000 damage between the pair of them. Big AoE, just being able to just chunk everyone and anyone down to ashes. And in the end, it's just a little bit too much for Cafe Noir to really deal with. I really think the Human Torch, I'll say when I was wrong. I underplayed it. I didn't think Human Torch was going to find a lot of value. I knew they could get value because there's so many tight areas there, and obviously those flame walls are really good at denying entry and also GS chunking people before they even try to push into a site. But it just completely changed the way the game was played. Paired with the Phoenix, uh, it was just too much for Cafe Noir. A very scary combination that is going to send us over to Convoy next, which notably Cafe Noir did a lot better on. They are yet again going to have pick of the map. So if there's a point where they need to get their mental on, they need to get everything back together and just put head down, win the map, get themselves to a game four, it's going to be here, and they'll have a pretty good opportunity to do so.
And they will on Hall of the Jalia actually looks to be. Oh, okay. We are locked and loaded. That is a convergence map. Are we? Okay. Yeah, listen, they did choose Hall of the Jalia here, so looks like we are going to the
Okay.
beautiful land of Wakanda. And one of my personal favorite maps, I'm not gonna lie. I love Hall of the Jalia. I feel like the most
Oh yeah.
hype maps always happen in Hall of the Jalia for some reason, especially third point. I feel like it can be such a headache to get into to go towards. Because it's so like it's just built like that. You know what I mean? If you play it, you know what I'm talking about. It's just
Oh
built
yeah.
the way it's built. And I don't even know. I'm really excited, honestly, as we go into the Hall of the Jalia. They chose really fast as well. We are not wasting any time. These guys want to get into it. And like you said, Cafe Noir need to get their heads back on. They need to just kind of breathe it out. We're chilling. It is thankfully best of 5. So at the very least, you can use those last two maps. Okay, what can we do here? What can we change? We have to make sure that we gotta lock in. Um we had to lock in here because being down 2-0 against one of the best Marvelous teams, it can do anything to someone's mental, and that's something that you can't really ignore. Um, Otherwise, they got it. Now it does look like we are getting a little bit of we got some TOs me like, hey, that's the wrong map,
Yeah.
guys. It's the wrong map.
Yeah.
I knew it was the wrong map. I was like, that's not a convoy map, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
my
I
team's
we
trolled a
do
little
have
bit.
yeah, we do have Convoy coming up. It looks like it's just a little bit of miscommunication. That does mean we are going to get one of. Oh, excuse me, it's being rolled away from me as I'm trying to look at it. The Tokyo 2099 map, the Empire Eternal Night, or Araco. All
Yes.
three very different maps. I think Convoy is one of the maps where you can kind of, or one of the game modes, excuse me, where pretty much any map you choose, you can get away with dive. We obviously didn't see it very much in game number 1 on Yggdrasil. I think that's one of the weaker dive maps in the pool. Every other one, though, I think there is a very real threat of, a Psylocke, a BP, seeing even some more of the brawl champions that get paired with them very often. Emma Frost is going to be high in priority. Hulk and Namor on most of these maps are a very good combination because even though Namor doesn't get as much value of defending a singular point as he does in like a domination or a convergence. The pairing with the Hulk is still very strong. So Namor, that Hulk can still get a lot of value there. But I really think going into this, we are going to see some more dive. And it does look like we are going to a Rocco. So yeah, no, that's very clearly that's a map where you can play the Hulk, where you can play Emma. You could also play a Thing. I've been seeing a lot of people playing the Thing, especially if they are trying to sneak in a flyer or two, especially around that first point where it's a little bit more open. There's more room for flyers to move around. The Thing's a really good counter to that. So, and also if you could time it properly, if they're over, one of the big pits there, a Thing jump on, knocks them out of the air, and suddenly they're falling to their doom like the Hulk in the last map. And it just takes someone off the board like that. So I would not be surprised if like a Hulk ban came through, an Emma Protector ban came through. Thing, I think that's never going to get picked or banned, or never going to get banned, but we might see it picked. A little tease.
I was gonna say I think the Thing might be a more solid option. The fact that they gave him not only the new kind of a new move where he or changed to his jump where you can now jump towards enemies and then
Yeah.
you can also disrupt flyers. I think that's something that's really cool and something that we haven't really been seeing too much of only because Thing is great, but you can almost do the same thing with Hulk. And at least Hulk has that self survivability with Gamma Shield, for example, with the Monster Hulk as well. Basically just being a self sustain. I need to live. I'm going to go big mode and kill everything. Ultimate, right? So as we are loading up
Yeah.
on Araco, like you said, this map actually, all, like you said, all convoy maps besides Yggdrasil's, which is a little more like Brawl Poke, really good at the dive. You know, we might be seeing some fruition behind those previous Psylocke BP bands that we've been seeing previously in our
Oh
map
yeah.
too, right? So as we load into Araco, if we see Psylocke, do we want to ban Emma again? Because Emma is one of, if not the answer. Miss Girl is the
Yeah.
answer to not just dive, but to everything. Will we let her go free? Will we protect her? Let's see, as we have now officially gone into an actual convoy map and go into the ban phase.
Yeah, Emma feels like it's going to be either a pick a ban here. This also is very much a very scary map for Groot and Wolverine. Both are very strong, but obviously, if you have the Wolverine, you don't want the Groot, and if you have the Groot, you don't want the Wolverine. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are heavily focused. We do see the Ultron ban immediately starting off. That's been the same, and we do see that BP ban. So 2 games back to back with the same opening two. That BP, like I said, makes a little bit more sense. And yet again, that Luna protect. So nothing too crazy or out of the ordinary between these two teams, just sticking to their guns. We do see the Wolf protect. That's very scary. Groot is one of the better vanguards for this map, and obviously Wolverine turns him into a scratching post. And Wolverine also makes a very scary threat to knock people off the map, just like it would have been on Hell's Heaven. And just like I said, with the thing knocking flies out of the sky, we do see the Emma band follow suit. Just another really strong vanguard here.
That was really, for calling Groot a cat scratcher was actually hilarious and very true. You're right. Wolverine just kind of, even not even just Groot, but also Magneto. Wolverine puts these guys in any Vanguard. Let's just be
Oh, yeah.
serious. Any Vanguard does not like seeing Wolverine whatsoever. They're only being kidnapped. No one's being kidnapped if we're being serious. So with Wolverine being protected, I'm very excited to see exactly how. I believe we're gonna likely see 762 on that character here, maybe even Snows as well. As we do see protection onto Loki, and the next pick coming in from Cafe Noir. I might look towards like a maybe Human Torch. They want to continue to keep that as an open option for these guys, but it's actually gonna be Magneto instead. So interesting. I think that's actually very, very interesting to actually keep the Magneto, despite kind of that mirror match losing out more often than not against Cafe Noir. Flyquest typically have that in the bag with Vest at the charge, leading it, right? But as we see the satellite band as usual, kind of seeing that as a consistent fifth band for Cafe Noir. Let's lock in on this last remaining band from Flyquest and see if that changes anything.
Okay. So it's going to be the Phoenix ban. I mean, generally very similar. I think the front three for Flyquest and the back three for Cafe Noir are the exact same. Obviously, the big changes are the Wolverine Protect on the first Protect for Cafe Noir, which they were one of the people that were banned out. They were the last ban for Flyquest last time, so securing that early. And the Phoenix being banned away from Flyquest when they were the Protect for the last map. So a little bit of alterations. Obviously, Phoenix, this is also another one of those maps where the corridors are pretty tight. You can get a lot of value out of big AoE damage dealers. So like a Human Torch and a Phoenix would yet again go kind of crazy. Cafe Noir are rocking the Wolverine off a rip. This is a very scary pick. And we see both. Oh my God. I said it was probably not going to come to fruition, but because it's not the number one go-to. And it looks like both teams are going to be rocking the thing. I'm a genius.
They call me the Ting. I'm ready. I love the Thing. I love the Thing so much, man. I watched Fantastic Four like this past Sunday. It was so good. He was my favorite character. I think he became my favorite character very, very, very quickly. In all seriousness, Flyquest opting to go on the defense first. Cafe Noir doing some absolute silliness with, of course, the Wolverine and Thing team up. It did not matter. Sparchief is on top of it, like right on right. And speaking of, Cooper-tastic, beautiful mission onto Kanoya very early on. Now, again, the spawn is right there, so they'll be back relatively quickly. But we are just ganging up on these guys right at their spawn doors, which is something that we've been seeing consistently from Flyquest since Yggdrasil's path. They love being right up against their noses in that spawn room with a triple Vanguard composition.
Yeah, absolutely. Very similar setup with the Rocket and no Ultron this time. So it is going to be the Loki to be that pseudo damage dealer. Not quite as good as the Ultron, but can still put out some serious damage. as it's based with the AoE abilities. We do see Spark Chief fall, but the revival protocol is in play, so not going to be gone for very long. It is going to mean the cart gets pushed a little bit, but nothing of too much concern, as right now it's just a lot of trading back and forth, gaining ult charge. We do see someone fall per side, but obviously Snows is going to be back soon because they have the ult advantage, or the spawn advantage.
Oh, but the clobber time is here, and it's here to stay. Now, it does get a lot of stuns, but no real eliminations on the board here. We do have the Strangling Prison online, but the Eye of Agamotto finds not one, not two, but 3 stuns. Yet again, lack of eliminations, forcing the CY8 machine to be the Career and Fire to be expended here from Adios. Is it going to be enough? However, it is. At least for Cafe Noir, we have the Strangling Prison, which does, at the very least, find Spark Chief. We have the Fable Throws also coming in from both sides, and this should be enough for Cafe Noir, not only to eliminate and tone down this ult bank that Flyquest had originally brought up. They should now, with just about the 2-minute mark, get a couple of meterage on the objective here, a little bit, tiny little bit. We are seeing Vest come in with the Eye of Agamotto. Spark Chief still kind of trying to, run his way back to this fight, but I think eventually every head will fall, and this objective will finally start going by the wayside of Cafe Noir.
Yeah, they survive on spot so much longer than the rest of their teammate. And we do finally see the kills go the way of Cafe Noir as they clean up the rest. But Vest taking so long to die means that there is no time for Vest to get back and TP them forward. So it was a much more staggered approach. And in the end, it pretty much cost them. But we do finally see the TP come out from them, immediately pushed back. So it's a bit of a staggered and awkward approach, but they are going to make their way out from the other side of the portal.
It is going to be really awkward. They come into the portal trying their best to, at the very least, stall the objective for a little bit longer. Spark Chief did give them the big heads up that we're teleporting, which if you know that voice line, it's very obvious by itself, but thanks, Spark Chief. They didn't have the headphones on for that one. It does end up in Flyquest going down shortly after their attempt at the teleport. Strangling Prison once again online, and so is the God of Mischief and Monsoon's Ultimate as well. We lose out on Vest, though, really early as well. I feel like everyone wasn't really on the point yet from Flyquest. Zelos, of course, gonna get their big one here against the opposing Magneto, but it's all for naught. Fable Throws does get used by both of these Lunar Snows. Ideally, Flyquest can, or at least should be able to stall this point for a little bit longer, as we have now ticked down underneath the 20-second timer. However, Cafe Noir has a lot more numbers, a lot more sustain under their belts, and they should be able to at least close out these last couple meters and bring us to... Yo, energy, mi amor, can you relax? Oh, that's big. That's it. Cafe Noir just got to stop that last second. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they all collapse. The kills go their way. Flyquest close this out. We do immediately see the Storm ult to the last desperation attempt to get to the point, but it's just not enough. And even if they could, that does not count as being on the point. So it was all in vain. That's going to be 0 points secured for Cafe Noir. Now Flyquest are in a prime position to not just win the map, but the series and the tournament. They don't even need to get it all the way to the first point. They just need to get it towards the end. It's their round. It's their map. It's a tournament to lose as they hold Cafe Noir to a wonderful spot for them.
I'm sorry, I can't help but read the chat, and apparently Spark Chief is at 1100 ping, but he's like, no, it's fine, don't worry about it. We're winning. It's okay.
Just win. just win. That's the simple solution. Having technical issues, just win.
Just win. Just go. Quite literally, all Flyquest has to do is go to second point. It's very much the same song and dance we saw on Yggdrasil, where Flyquest, all they had to do was push a little bit past the last part of second point. That's all, or first point. That's all they had to really do, and they were able to do that with flawless, with flying colors. Right, 4-minute time bank. given to Cafe Noir took all the way down to overtime, literally a meter before second objective. Right, Flyquest are already locking in on a. Ooh, I like this. We have the Spider-Man coming out for the first time today from me when I lie. We have Cooper Tastic sticking onto the Loki here, of course. Zelos sticking onto Cloak and Dagger, and Adios is gonna be the one on the Human Torch. Gonna be mirroring 762 here. I like Cafe Noir's comp. Now this fight is gonna be coming in with a lot of heavy hands, literally from both of these things coming in the mirror match between Spark Chief and of course Ify. Ideally, Cafe Noir should just stall this point, but they're being pushed out from the side area, and Flyquest are going to get a good amount of meterage under their belt almost immediately with almost little contention. We lose Vest, though. That's big.
Yeah, and they're trying to play in and around this hallway, which is not amazing when you're running into a Human Torch. There's a lot of damage to be done when everyone's tucked away into those tight angles. But they do find the opening kill. That being said, FlyQuest have the spawn advantage, so it's not all doom and gloom for them. And finally, we do see a push out as Energy are able to crack it open. The Wolverine, yet again, just finding so much value as we see Fest go on the flank here.
A little bit. Fez got like, on the flank a little bit, and then was like, actually, I shouldn't peek them real quick. Because last time that happened, Fez was down really, really early. However, as we go around this corner, now it's going towards the objective. Eternal Bond is on the floor, and here's also the Supernova right in the entryway of where Cafe Noir want to walk. It makes Monotone need to use a favorable throws here just to walk freely. And of course, as a response, Zelos does go for the Eternal Bond on the floor, and Monotone, shortly after the timer of the Fable throws goes down, they go down back to the spawn room. Following, of course, is that Wolverine. Another aerial meter M comes in from Vest to no luck, but I don't even think it's all that much of a difference as Flyquest easily run through Araka with a 3-0 lead in the series and win the best of 5 and are the grand champions of Tenax circuit. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful.
I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, when you were going up against FlyQuest, you need to bring your best. And this was probably one of the weakest points we've seen FlyQuest in recent times. They struggled to get past Busy at Work. They struggled to get past Dark Zero. It was very close against Dark Zero, but they got to the finals and it's like something clicked with them. This wasn't the team that was struggling in the previous games. This was the team that 3-0'd 100 Thieves in the grand finals of the like groups of Ignite. This is the team that beat Sentinels, the team that beat 100 Thieves, the team that almost made it to the LAN. This is our champions because, man, they came out, they showed out, and they dominated the grand finals 3-0 fashion. And not just like dominantly so. It was a walk in the park in the convoy. They had a very convincing domination. And that hold from Morocco was terrifying. That's a world-class hold. That could beat any team in the world on a good day.
And they sure did multiple times, right? So as you said, FlyQuest, they have their medals for a reason. They have their reputation for a reason. Very, very strong team. But that's not to say Cafe Noir did not go out swinging with a perfect 4-0 up until grand finals. That's not something to scoff at. Taking it over Alani win in a very, very close faction. Even though the scoreboard we're going to show in a little bit says 2-0, that went all the way to a round 3 on maps on second map and could have gone to a map 3 for those guys. And of course, we have also their first round Aeronite, another solid team playing in a separate league at the same time, and they're very solid. Cafe Noir definitely went into this with their heads held up high with a perfect 4 record, especially in comparison to Flyquest back-to-back 3 gamers. Otherwise, Flyquest was like, oh, we can do another one. Don't worry. We can do a little 3-0, a little 3 games and call it a day. And they sure did. Congratulations to Flyquest for taking it all home and giving us a very wonderful show at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that is all we have for you tonight, everyone. Of course, special thanks to you, Mott. Thank you for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure casting with you. can't wait to work with you again in the future. Of course, special thanks to
Absolutely.
CJ. He had to dip out. It's like 3 a.m. for him, and he was still out doing a job after also doing commentary for like 5 hours previous. So, massive thanks to him for coming out and doing his best work. Of course, special thanks to Aggressive, our observer, Sirius, our producer, and Dilu, the woman behind the scenes, making sure everything is running smoothly. Of course, special thanks to the TOs, making sure everything happens behind the scenes on the tournament. To the players for coming out and showing out every single game today, whether it was close or it was dominant, were at least fun as hell to watch. They definitely made it a show and a spectacle for everyone. And of course, special thanks to you guys at home, because if you're not watching, what are we doing it for? That being said, hopefully we do this again in the future. And when we do, we hope to see you there. My name is Soren. Have a wonderful night.